Hello, everybody. Joe Bagdones here, and welcome back, one and all, for another episode of Full Metal Demon Muramasa. Last time we left off, bit of tying up a lot of loose ends. Last episode, Ishiku dead, Kinseigo dead, Chachimaru dead. Maybe next time we'll fucking learn something about you, Chachimaru. You just keep sticking in the background and then dying. Also, yeah, it wasn't lost on me last episode that, fucking Shishiku's original family name was Arata, which, was their cover name at last route when they were going to Futodaku. Which, who fucking picked that as their cover name? That's fucking awful. Like, I feel like Usadoshin would know, what Shishiku's, previous family name was. That'd be like getting introduced to someone, and then they have, like, your mother's maiden name. Well, I guess, like, maybe it's not too strange then. Because we don't really know how close, the four generals are. Whether well, Usadoshin's the kind of fucking smarty pants guy who he would probably do his research and know about, Shishiku's past. It would definitely kind of like have a neuron fire in his brain at the least, I would imagine. But, no sense going into it because they're dead. Everyone's dead. And now, we accomplished, both our main characters. I guess I was gonna say side quest, but no, that's like their main fucking like social link quest done. Fucking da 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 da. Time for credits roll, right? Because there's only the one thing left to do. Still gotta, atone for those sins and whatnot by dying. The week following Otori Shishiku's death is not, as one might expect, fraught with tumult. In fact, compared to what went before, one might even be tempted to call it peaceful. This is especially true in Aizu, where the expected confrontation between Rokuhara and GHQ has failed to materialize. The shogunate has lost its last true leader, and the allies have lost their justification for war. Now their force is in a position to start another fight. The people of Yamato, meanwhile, this latest event has provided fresh fuel for rumor. Though the times have left many numb to upheaval, still voices whisper, who? Who killed the Rokuhara's last hope? GHQ is the favorite suspect, at least in the beginning. But as time goes by and the story of those who escaped House Otori spreads, a different picture emerges. That the eldest daughter of murdered Lord Tokisugu returned to claim her vengeance. These two stories, seemingly in opposition, gradually merge together, until the prevailing theory is that GHQ spies assisted the Otori scion in her quest. While this story is some ways close to the truth, those who choose to believe it as fact are, of course, entirely wrong. The truth is that no one benefited less from Shishiku's death than the allies and their queen. If General Otori had been inclined to accept, I have little doubt that Captain Cannon would have gladly provided them a bodyguard. It needed a villain, a living, breathing enemy, not one who had lost his head. Shishiku, in turn, was well aware that his enemy needed him. This is why he did not feel it necessary to keep Musha guards on station. Ultimately, neither side had planned for Otori Kaine. Still, even the false narrative might have worked to GHQ's advantage. People love a tale of vengeance, and as the shadowy power which supposedly made the whole thing happen, GHQ might have found support for a peaceful takeover. This, I am certain, is in large part the reason that Colonel Cannon chose to withdraw and wait. Yamato needed new rulers, and after more than a decade of strife, her people were beginning to ask, why not these men from the West? And that's when Kyoto made its move. as I'm also moving and adjusting my mic because I had it too high up. It was blocking my vision. I'm kind of like being a bum and like reclining in my chair when I'm reading right now. I'm a little sleepy boy today. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I went to bed, a little bit late, but not really. It was like noon when I went to bed. But I did only sleep till like 7. Maybe it's because I'm full of meat right now. Take that as you will. But I went grocery shopping and they had these little chunk steaks on sale for like a pack of 6. It was like $7. Like almost a little more than $1 per steak. And they're not like big, but they're not like little small things either. So I had one of those and some fried eggs for breakfast. I say breakfast, but it was like noon when I had it. But it was breakfast to me. I suppose maybe it was a late dinner technically, but whatever. Really, really good. Good fresh meat. I bought some fucking Worcestershire sauce. Fucking threw that on there. Dude, I love me some fucking Worcestershire sauce. I'm skipping. I'm thinking about fucking fish sauce. Yep, that is when Kyoto made its move. I can only assume that the court had planned for precisely this turn of events. The moves were too swift and precise to think otherwise. First, they approached the Muromachi Tandai, Rokahara's arm in Kyoto, and secured their cooperation. Next came the governor of Kyushu. Hokkaido promptly followed. At the same time, the investiture of Ashikaga Kunoichi, who had fallen by the wayside during the destruction of Fudaraku, was officially postponed. The court had decided that Moriuchi's heir was too young to bear the burden of these troubled times. A regent would be appointed to safeguard this position until he had come of age. As for whom that regent would be, that still remained to be seen. But if I were a betting man, I'd place my money on a member of the imperial family, one intimately familiar with the players in Kanto, with the foresight and acumen to lead the court's response to this crisis. One member in particular, in other words. My suspicions aside, from what I hear, the court has already begun to re-establish the true, if in recent years defunct, governing apparatus of Yamato. The 10 ministries are summoning their bureaucrats, the 5 families are convening to select a prime minister, and even the houses of the imperial diet are planning to unshutter their doors. This change has not gone unnoticed by the people of Yamato. Reminded of their ancestral loyalties, many are looking once more to Kyoto for guidance and hope. The number grows daily, and even the warriors of Rokahara are no exception. Rokahara's role, its true role, has always been to serve the court. With the Muromachi Tandai's example to silence lingering opposition. Huh? Example, what? Muromachi Tandai's example to silence lingering opposition. Alright. The leaderless Kanto Rokahara have already begun returning to the fold. The more time goes by, the more likely it seems that Yamato will find its own way to peace. This is not, of course, what GHQ wants, and I have little doubt that Colonel Cannon has plans in place to stop it. But without another convenient villain waiting in the wings, he will soon have to make a choice, to become himself the villain, or instead, to seek an accord. Will war once again rage across Yamato, or will it finally have its freedom? The answer to that question is not for me to know. Because I'll be dead! Ooh, nice little bedroom, though. It's like, I dig the big window, basically the whole wall of windows, but also the frugal man in me sees like, man, that's gonna be a fucking bitch to heat in the winter, huh? The mountain breeze is soft and gentle, caressing my skin like a maiden's touch. I breathe deep, filling my lungs, then exhale a great burst of air. It's over, truly. Insego is gone, Rokahara defeated. Though there are doubtless many obstacles still to overcome before a brighter future can emerge, my part in Yamato's story is over. Yamato needs the good and the wise, not men like me. I'm a murderer, a criminal, and a criminal's duty is to be punished. That is the only way for such a man to be of use to society. That is why I hoped for a trial once this had ended, for a fair, impartial judge who would send me to the noose. To suffer and die, filthy and wretched, an object of hatred and scorn. That is what I deserved. Justice. But the only men who could see it done denied my victims that. They simply could not understand why it had to be. Now the commissioner is gone, and His Highness, I'm sure, has no time for my troubles. Even if they possessed the will, they could not see it done. And yet, I need not despair. I still have Otorikaine. With her, I have no fear that my deeds will go unpunished. She has weighed my crimes, pronounced me guilty, and sworn to see justice done. Perhaps she does not serve society's laws as I do, but she does serve a law, a deeper law, the oldest law of man. Whatsoever you take from another shall be taken from you in turn, the law of vengeance. She will come to me, her sword in hand, to avenge the boy whose dreams I destroyed. Nita Yuhi, his killer will die, slain by the righteous blade as evil is meant to be. There's no justice more perfect, more fair. No other way to honor my victims. They were innocent. They lived good lives and were repaid for it with evil. If that evil is not repaid in turn, then their good was worth nothing at all. Evil must be repaid. The villain must suffer the same as his victims. This will not bring back what was lost, but it will, at least, even the score. Evil will not have won. More than anything, this world needs justice, a force that acts in opposition to the wrong. Justice is the font of order, the soil in which hope and dreams may grow. In this now, I know that there is justice, and that she is coming for me. Otorikaine, this joy, this terror that burns in my heart is proof that the world is right.
Kageaki-sama, yoroshiku.
あなたに対して閉ざす扉などありません。
Also, that reminds me, we haven't had an H scene yet this route, and it's about that time, you know. In the story, you know, it's in the script that it's got to happen, and it's like mountain villa, lonely bedroom with a single lamp does not comfort me in my hopes that I won't have to do any editing today.
それに、折も良かった。こちらから伺おうと思案していたところでした。
She steps inside and closes the door, forgoing the obvious question. There's only one reason I would call on her now. Only one thing between us unfinished. Perhaps she means to finish it here. So be it. I'm ready. I have no reason to refuse her. Hold on, I got a stuffy nose. Give me a sec. Ew, that was gross. She turns towards me, but stops halfway. Her gaze is fixed on the wide-open window.
お寒くありませんの?
さほどには。新鮮な空気の心地よさの
Yeah, I like sleeping with really cold air around me. I get that from spending a lot of time up at my grandparents' house when I was a kid. You know, like, I would spend a month there in the summer and like a month in the winter. And, yeah, it's basically like, yeah, I know it's like 5 degrees outside, but open the window. The cold air is good for you. You're under the blankets, you'll be warm. You know, the cold air is good. I'm like, if you say so, meme. And, yeah. That's why I'm so tough to the cold now.
そうですね。自然は本当に素晴らしいところですから、ここは。他には何もありませんけれど。
Yeah, there's no fucking internet?
ない方が良いのです。何があっても景観を損なうでしょう。
While speaking, I get up and close the window. Women are often susceptible to cold, and I would not want to make the captain uncomfortable.
長倉王は良い場所に別荘を建てられた。1週間屋根をお借りしたものとして、ご趣味のほどに称賛の言葉は惜しめません。
思考が似通ってらっしゃるのかしら。長倉のおじい様もこの山荘はお気に入りで。
Yeah, I love the nice rustic, rural vibe. Well, I like going up to the lake house in the summer.
毎年春と秋には1週間ほどここで過ごされます。でもこれから当分の間はその習慣もお預けでしょうね。
No, Northern Vermont would be so much better without all the Frenchies, but I suppose I'm also one of those Frenchies, so I can't say much.
ご多忙なのですか？
I suppose it'd be better without all the fucking rich Massachusetts people going up there to vacation for the summer, but is what it is. At present, the situation in Aizu can be likened to the chaos of a laundry bin, with the forces Otori Shishiku assembled here leaderless and lost. I only hope that Sir Nagakura is not in any danger.
表向きはこれまでと何も変わらず悠々自適に暮らしてらっしゃいます。けれどバーヤが言うにはどうも裏でせわしなく動いているらしいとのことで。
Old retired fucks love to meddle and shit.
多分大鳥家に花江の周辺に介入しているのでしょう。あのおじい様、昔から私より妹の方にご執心でしたから、大鳥家を立て直そうと奔走している花江の支えになってくれているんだと思います。きっとあの子には気づかれないようにしながら。もう結構なお年なんですもの。好き好んで苦労を買い込
He
まな
just
くたっ
seems
て
like
い
one
い
of
で
those
しょう
people
ね。
that, always needs to be doing something or else he'll just fucking die. Everyone knows one of those old people where, like, the second they stop working, they just, a week later, they're dead. Like, they need to keep the ball rolling or else, they'll just have a heart attack and collapse. She sighs, shaking her head, but I hear the truth behind her chiding tone. Smiling, I reply.
好きでする苦労ならお辛くはありますまい。無理をなさらないか。それだけが懸念です。体の限界は得てして唐突に訪れるものですから。
ええ。そのあたりに気を配れる人間がおじい様の身辺にいるといいのですけど。
誰かとは言わず、大殿がなされればよろしいと存
It
じ
kind
ま
of
す。
seems like she wants to wash her hands of the whole family business and just kind of
大殿
not
と
get
て
involved.
妹君の力となりたい気持ちにお変わりはないはず。さすればあのご老人も肩にかかる重みを減らせましょう。
It sounds complicated.
差し出口ながら、そうすることが最善であろうと自分には思われます。
私は単なるパウダーマニア。今あの子やおじい様のそばへ行っても、
Oh,
無駄な自分の
every
馬車
every
くさになるだ
operation
けでしてね。
needs a fucking heavy, some muscle.
そのようなことは決してありません。
I say with conviction.
買いかぶりはなさらないで、影明様。
いえ、大尉。自分は知っています。覚えています。
I recall her deeds, all that I've seen of her since we met in that village. Remember how she bucked the will of her superiors and fought to save the village from Nagasaka's madness. I remember how she joined my quest to stop Kinseigo, and how no warning of mine could turn her aside. And of course, I remember her actions in the wake of the Shogun's death. The desperate attempt to stop the bomb, the flight to Aizu, where she took a bullet meant for me. The last struggle against Otori Shishiku, whose ambitions would have brought new war to Yamato. In every instance, the wise course would have been to stand aside, but she threw herself in mortal danger with no hope of personal gain. Why did she do it then? For her people.
大尉殿、あなたは昇進の貴族であられます。民草を導くという傲慢なる統治に正当な資格を持って臨むことのできるお方です。 あなたの存在が大取家。ひいては会津の人々の暮らしに益しない道理がありません。
Yeah,
疑
so
うべくもないことで
just
す。
get into politics, I guess.
大殿、あなたはこんなところで足踏みしているべきではない。
If there is anywhere she does not belong, it is here.
港影焼の始末をなさってください。そして一刻も早く、あなたの力が必要とされている場所へお
It's
戻り
like at least go outside to do it. You know, these are some nice hardwood floors. You don't have to like re-lacquer them because they're stained with blood. She answered with silence. Slowly, her gaze travels from me to the window, to the vista beyond. I study her profile, though never in question. Her beauty strikes me now more than ever before. Her fine sculpted features, cold and white, betray no hint of emotion. But as frost hides the soil, know that beneath them a world of warmth can be found. After a time, she speaks. Her lips hardly move.
そんな生き方も考えはしました。けれど
As her last whisper dies, she turns to look once more at me. At once, my body freezes, every muscle locked in place. There, not an arm's length away, the captain's lidded eyes shine like knives beneath a veil. She reaches out, her fingers long and white, bone white, as if all blood has left them. They touch my neck, cold as ice, and I know my doom is here. Her other hand rises. I watch, petrified, and wait for the end to come. Yep. The air is still. This is not precisely the end I expected. The captain has laid me out on the bed. Forcibly? That's hard to say. I suppose some subtle technique might have done it, where I felt no noticeable impact. I could almost believe I had assumed the position myself.
大尉、
She does not reply, though she cannot have mistaken the question in my tone. Instead, with the tiniest quaver, her fingers begin to undo the buttons of my shirt. I decide to try again.
何を。
明日
She's gonna like just rip your heart out through your chest, but she doesn't want to like have to go through the fabric, so. This time, she stops me with a word. A single word. Tomorrow. This answer leaves a great deal unsaid, but the words that follow, but the words that don't follow, if I hear as if spoken. There is only one thing they could be. Tomorrow.
ですからそれまであなたは影焼様
Cool. I try to speak, my voice absent, but my throat, dry as a desert, prevents me. Oh, not absent, assent. Words are hard. It hardly matters. I am hers. She does not need or want my permission. Her hands, which hold my life in their grasp, continue their nuptial work? Okay. I can tell from her ragged breathing that she's nervous, as if she has never been with a man before. Question why crumbles like sand. I know that to ask would be meaningless. I am hers. That is answer enough. I'm expecting a cut here soon. Any minute now. Within moments, my chest lies bare. Her eyes inspect me with a microscopic intensity, tracing the many lines carved in my flesh. A record of my battles is etched there. Though Musha can heal from most any wound, the deepest still leave traces behind. I have many, too many to count.
そう。じっと見られるのは。
Hey, you're gonna fucking stare a hole in him.
周知を
は、
It's kind of rude.
なぜ醜いと思っておいでですの
She traces one, long and jagged, with the tip of her little finger.
この傷が。
ええ、
傷跡は言うなれば生きた証。恥じるものでも醜いものでもなくてよ。
I
影
mean,
様
there are some where if you tell the story behind it, it's like they might be kind of embarrassing.
尋常に生きた方であれば大尉おっしゃられる通り
Like
です。
if you have a big scar on your forehead from, you know, I don't know, riding a shopping cart down a hill and then fucking flipping the bitch and eating shit. I can see kind of being embarrassed of telling the story of that one.
傷跡が生きた証なら港影焼の傷が示すものは
My fingers go to the scars she's chosen. Memory comes easily. The battle, the deaths, most vividly, the one that came after.
まさに修行恥じるほか術がありません。
Silence. The captain neither agrees nor protests, but nor does she grant me the reprieve from her gaze. I look aside, but her eyes, I still feel them on my skin, stroking it, caressing it, like long, slender reeds. There's no escape. Squirm though I might, her grip holds me fast. My only choice is to lie there, helpless, as shame broils the core of my brain. Suddenly, a new sensation sears my flesh, this one infinitely more real than the last. A moment of utter confusion follows. Though I can see what is happening, I cannot accept it. The captain, Raine, is kissing me, kissing my hideous scars.
大尉
My voice dies. What can I say? What words, what plea will avail me against the raw power of her act? My tormentor pays no heed to my distress. She is devoted utterly to her work, to the play of firm lips and wet tongue. Just giving my man a hickey? Alright. The first touch of her tongue draws a groan from my throat. The shock is electric, too much to endure. Her mouth moves onward, from one scar to the next, leaving no inch of my skin untouched. With a hunter's focus, she studies me.
そうか
All at once, I understand why. Why I cannot stop her. Why my pleas have gone ignored. To her, in this moment, I am not my words or will. I am my scars, my story, my battles. This woman is tasting my crimes. And it is no wonder that I cannot deny her, for what she is claiming is merely her due. She is, after all, my judge.
この
Alright, whatever you need to tell yourself, bud.
一つ一つに涙の味がします。嘆きの味が。
Yeah, that sounds about right.
それは
You know, maybe a little piss and vomit too.
至極当然かと
The grief of my victims, whose futures I stole. The tears shed by their friends and loved ones. These scars were made by more than just blades.
分かってない。
Yeah, she meant your own, you fucking dumbass.
影明様は間違ってる。それでは一人足りないのにどうしてお分かりにならないの？
It's like, I don't deserve to be allowed to feel bad about it after what I've done. Perhaps she is right. Perhaps I am blind, or I cannot see what it is that she sees. What am I missing? What am I forgetting? Grief? Tears? For whom? She is staring deep into my eyes. She's waiting for something. Look at her, a spark. She hopes that I will see. But I glimpse that there is also resignation, that she knows that her hope is in vain. And indeed, I am forced to meet her expectations. Though I wish it were otherwise, words cannot reach. The captain, sensing this, shows no surprise. She merely lowers her head, concealing her face. But in this gesture signifies acceptance, then it must also signify her coming to a decision. Otherwise, how am I to explain what comes next? True, one might call it an obvious way for this matter to progress, but to my senses, the shock is very real. Sloppy. Yep, there it is. Well, no way to get around this one, so, see you, guys after the cut. And if you don't want to miss any of the vital plot and story contents that we're going to be talking about, you know, the heart and souls of our characters here, link in the description. Are we back? Are we back to YouTube for real this time, and not the fake out last time? 2 hours later. All right, the sun's rising in the morning, yeah? Or is it the moon? I can't tell.
けだもの
All right, yeah, if we're back on YouTube, hello. The only thing you missed was I needed to know how the Tsurugi healing factor affects the condition of a woman's hymen, and also we metaphysically cucked Shishiku from beyond the grave. He is now like haunting a Best Western fucking hotel room, like spiritually bound to the cuck chair, while we're down in the lobby eating the continental breakfast and making waffles.
なんと言い訳したものか
Yeah,
わかりませんが
sometimes the flip just gets switched, you know?
その
Or the switch gets flipped, yeah.
一種の病気で女性とこう過剰に接触してしまうと
Man, don't call it that.
抑制の効かなくなる
I know you're
とこ
just a verbose asshole, but, you know, it makes you sound like you're on an incel form when you talk like that.
けだものけだものけだもの
The hour has nearly turned before her epithets cease.
でもよかった
Yep, now time for dramatic pillow talk.
影明様のこんなところ知っている人は他にいないのでしょう
Well,
それはまあ
if there were, I'd be afraid to venture outside.
そんな内緒の部分まで見せていただけてよかった最後に
Before the end. The day breaks.
殿方より先に目覚めてこっそり抜け出しておくのが女のたしなみというものですのに
Yeah, but you're a fucking sloth and sleep in. Did you guys at least like crack the window to let the funk out? Or you
申
just
し
like
訳ありません
just like fucking
Stock
hot
tiki.
boxing in like
朝
the
には強い方
fucking
で
that like fuck stank?
寝顔見られた
The captain pouts. Struggling to not laugh, I see her from my room, then ready myself for the day. We see each other again at breakfast, which Miss Nagakura prepares. The meal is delicious, and the conversation light. Afterwards, the captain excuses herself, citing a small matter in which she must attend.
港様、午前中はいかがなさいます？
少し森を散策しようかと
それはよろしゅうございますな。
本当ねお天気もいいし影明様後で私もご一緒して構いません
Might as well.
もちろんですではお先に
And thus, the meeting is set. We, just going for a walk? Or is this like, you know, going on a walk with Old Yeller into the woods? For someone to ask me whether a forest in winter is beautiful, I would would find myself hard-pressed to answer, yeah. I mean, this forest, there's still the greenery and the trees, but... I mean, I live, like, well, grew up pretty far up north where in the winter, everything's just fucking gray. You know, unless you're, like, where the evergreens are and there's pine trees, it's just like most of the forest, it's just gray bark, leafless trees, dirty, kind of like half-melted snow. Because unless the snow is, like, freshly fallen, you know, and everything's, like, pure white, give it a couple days and it gets kind of grimy. In spring, there's growth, promising and new. In summer, there is life, vibrant, sheltered from the sun. In autumn, there's color, and a quiet, gentle warmth. These are all beautiful in their own way. But in winter, there is nothing. No warmth, no color, no life, no growth. A forest in winter is incomplete, missing the parts that make it whole. Historically, few poets found much in this to admire. But few is not none. Some speak of this season as one which lays the world bare, which renders everything, not imperfect, but naked, stripped of its petty affectations. Winter, then, is the season of truth. This emptiness, this silence, is where its beauty lies. I'm not one who normally credits such sentiments. Now, however, I understand. As places to die go, this is more than I deserve. Perhaps this helps to explain my present state of mind. I find myself as calm as the forest around me. There is fear, of course. I am not so enlightened as if to meet my death with a nod. To imagine Otorikane's malice, fingers cold around my throat, fills my heart with terror. But inside my heart is where that terror stays, frozen, perhaps, by the winter air. My limbs do not shake. My thoughts remain clear. And so it is with unearned composure that I await my executioner. Although she does not show herself, I know that Muramasa has been with me since I departed the villa. She is silent, not because she has nothing to say, but because she does not know if she should say it. She does not need to. After all this time together, I know what her words would be, and I am grateful for her restraint, if sorry that she feels the need. Gratitude and guilt. This may be the first time I've felt such emotions towards Muramasa. Come to think of it, I have my own message to deliver. There is no reason that her silence should keep me from saying what needs to be said.
Muramasa.
Nani?
I turn to face her. She remains hidden, but our bond tells me where she is.
世話になった。
The woods are quiet as I resume my walk. From the position of the sun, I know that early morning has passed. I've been out here for about an hour. Or over an hour. Soon, something tells me. Though no time was appointed, the moment feels right.
ミド。
日が陰ってきたな。
When we set out, the sky was blue and clear. Now a blanket of gray is spreading from the horizon. Looks like rain.
ミド。
Finally noticed the alarm in Muramasa's voice. The tone is familiar.
ボギーか。
方角。水が届かみ。距離950。速度。この反応は。何番もの。
Oh, is this how we're doing it?
進駐軍だと。
There's only one reason they'd be here. Tie up their loose ends.
あの機体。
俺は。貴様は。
Well. Oh, fuck, that was loud.
Someone-
Jesus Christ.
あの時の。
Ugh. actually made me fucking recoil back and like shut my eyes and go like, ah. Yosugi incident. In the 24th year of Koryu, Yosugi Sake was assassinated, together with his family, by officers of the Imperial Army. This was one of a string of politically motivated killings that took place between the rise of the far right and Rokuharu's seizure of power. Born into an old military family, Osugi Sake spent his childhood preparing to follow in the footsteps of his forebears. But after a series of poor choices saw him expelled from his army preparatory school, he spent the rest of his life in a sense rejecting all that he'd been taught. At the time, Edo was the center of political discourse in Yamato. There, Osugi reinvented himself as a pacifist speaking against the evils of empire. While his new ideals may have been born out of hate for the military which had spurned him, Osugi took them with zeal nonetheless. He had always possessed the gift of rhetoric. Men gathered around him, both detractors and supporters, drawn not by his speeches and his writings, but also to the peculiar dectometer of his character. What's that word mean? Decomedy? Dude, I don't know. Words are hard. How do I pronounce that, Google?
Dichotomy.
Dichotomy. Oh, that's how you spell dichotomy? Okay. Sure. Dichotomy. Here was a man who could translate Darwin, yet had also found himself more than once ducking a jealous mistress's knife. Doomsday siren going on outside. Ultimately, Osugi's anti-imperialism sympathies evolved into full-blown anarchism. His supporters grew in number and in fervor, as, of course, did his enemies on the right. For while a pacifist might be dismissed as a nuisance, an anarchist was a clear and present threat to national integrity. To those who dreamt of an Asia united beneath Yamatoan rule, he was the worst kind of traitor. September 1st, Koryu 24, the Great Kyoto earthquake lays waste to Edo. Hundreds of thousands die in the destruction and its aftermath. In the chaos which follows, rumors abound. Foreign laborers are banding together with socialists to loot, rape, and kill. Though these stories have little merit, a hurt, panicked people are ill-equipped to discern truth from fiction. Lynch mobs stalk the streets of Edo, claiming lives by the dozen. However, the most famous murders this period were committed not by hysterical townsfolk, but by soldiers acting with cold, clear purpose. And where some of these men, too, let paranoia drive them, still others see the rumors as merely an excuse to settle older grievances. A few days after the earthquake, 10 political activists are arrested, shot, and decapitated in the Katsushika district of Edo. This massacre, later called the Kamedo incident, is just the first of many. September 16th, Koryu 24. Otsugi Sake, his wife, and their 2 sons, ages 6 and 7, disappear on their way back to Edo from Yokohama, where they were visiting Sake's sister, who had been injured in the quake. 1 week later, the public learns what happened. A group of radicals led by an Imperial Army captain abducted the family, executed them, then took their own lives. To this day, no one disputes the official record. That it contains several falsehoods and numerous omissions is a truth that only those in certain circles know. I mean, yeah, that sounds like early 20th century Japan. Nagakura Sayo pauses her sweeping. A dark spot on the floor has caught her eye. It's not possible. After the incident, they tore out the floorboards and had them replaced. Could they have missed one? No, it's been 20 years. Plenty of time for new stains to build. And yet, as the old woman stares at the spot that looks so much like dried blood, she cannot help but remember.
おばあ様、不思議なの。とても不思議なのよ。この人たち、銃の弾を避けなかったの。
because it's a bullet.
あんなのちゃんと見れば簡単に避けられるのにね。そうでしょね、おばあさま。どうしてこの人たちは私みたいに時間を止めてしまわなかったのかしら。
Zawaldo? Her skin crawls, her hands shake, her broom clatters to the floor. It's like this every time she recalls the events of that long ago day. The terror, always as fresh as the very first time she felt it. She turns to the window. The sky is gray. Out there, a battle is beginning. She knows that her mistress will prevail. Defeat for her is impossible. Unless Otorikaine chooses it herself. Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I was getting. Like,
貴様
does she have the guts to go through with it? And she can't like really come out and tell him that she doesn't want to. And if she asks him to fight, you know, knowing it's her, he won't want to. You know, a little bit of deceptions need to get this ball rolling. The Musha lights on the crown of a pine, a raptor glittering darkly. From there, he gazes down on me. Contempt hangs thick in the air. In his eyes, I am nothing but prey to be hunted at his leisure. My heart pounds. I clench at my chest. It's him, the Musha who killed my father. Bloodlust surges through my veins, demanding I surrender control. Vengeance, it cries, and I step forward to answer. An image cuts through the crimson haze. No, could this night be like them? If his hatred for me was born of my crimes, then I do not have the right to deny him. But is it so? This warrior's malice feels different from theirs. Kurusu no Konatsu and her companions were driven to vengeance by love. Love that my actions twisted to madness. The madness I sense in this Musha is different. Not twisted, but pure. He hates me because to hate is his nature. Or I read him wrongly? Am I looking for an excuse? There's only one way to be sure.
クルセイダーどうやら問答無用の様子だがそこを曲げて一件問わせていただきたいあなたは港影焼に復讐を誓う者か俺に謹慎を殺されその怨恨にかけて俺の命を狙う者か
I mean, yeah.
ならばこちらには刃を受ける用意がある同様のゆえんにより俺を処断せんとする方がすでに1名控えておられるためそちらと相談していただくことにはなる
It's like, look, like, if you want to kill me, that's fine, but, you know, someone's already got stakes on this body, so,
いかに
The knight does not speak, nor reveal his expression. And yet he answers, with a tilt of the head more eloquent than any sneer. What kind of fool are you?
貴様やはり
God damn, why is he so loud? Fuck. Now the knight aims his crossbow, not at me, but east towards the villa. I take his meaning all too well. Give me what I want, or I'll deal with her first.
やはり大鳥隊を狙ってきた追っ手か左遷
My calm has vanished, consumed by flame. Death will have to wait.
村正あと一度だけ付き合ってくれあと一つだけやらねばならぬことができた
ミド
頼む
I cannot afford to fall here. Turdikaine, she alone has the right to take my life. To protect hers, and to ensure my just end, I will do what must be done. And this knight, who killed my father, will die.
鬼に会うては鬼を切る。仏に会うては仏を切る。剣の断り、ここにあり。
Well, I suppose you don't really have to worry about the law of balance, really, if, you know, after you kill him, you just plan to roll over and die anyway, so...
頭を抑えられた。
don't gotta worry about the repercussions. Yeah, no sense balancing the scales if you're essentially doing the equivalent of declaring bankruptcy. So you're like, nope, my debt no longer exists, bye. Also, now that we're beginning this aerial battle, just give me 1 sec, gotta make a quick cut. I've been drinking, like, 4 pots of coffee today. And I'm back.
高度優勢は先方か。あの鋼鉄が備える独特の交際。
Yeah, from the sound too, it sounds like a fucking dump truck falling over on its side. Jesus Christ.
わかるの？
あれはオリハルコンだ。
In the west, there are 3 metals said to represent the pinnacle of the crucksmith's craft. Blessed mithril, the demon's bane. Jeweled adamantite, which no blade can pierce. And last, shining orichalcum.
剣が羽衣に思えるほどの軽量なのだとか。そのため立ち上がりが異常に鋭い。
初戦の上手は約束されたようなものってわけね。なかなかやるじゃない。けど重量が軽いことには短所もある。
Yeah, they lose momentum.
ああ、
or inertia, whatever you want to call it. There's less force behind it because there's less mass. In the air, a Tsurugi's strike force depends on velocity and mass. Though my opponent does have the altitude advantage, his lighter frame means that he still has trouble getting through with that longsword of his. This fight is by no means lost. Of course, that only applies as long as my enemy uses his sword. His crossbow, on the other hand, doesn't care how little he weighs. Historically, no weapon on Earth has been as feared as the Musha's bow. Where the ability to kill at range is concerned, only the most modern weapons can even begin to compare. The crossbow, in particular, though it never saw much use in Yamato, possesses unparalleled penetrative force. The tensile strength present in the kind of string that only a Musha can wind means that its bolt, properly rifled, can breach even the ultra-thick armor plate covering a Tsurugi's chest. The trade-off is that crossbows take much longer to reload, so I'll have to be careful about when he uses it. Still, considering the danger that weapon presents, it would have been safer for me to stay on the ground, where the forest might have provided some cover. And indeed I would have, if I could have been certain that the enemy would continue the engagement even after I declined to follow him into the sky. There was, however, a chance that he would fly for the manor instead, in which case I would have been hard-pressed to catch him, starting as I would have from the ground. Given that I cannot afford to let him near the manor, I am forced to fight on a field which favors my enemy. Perhaps this is why he came after me first, because he knew that my concern for the captain would hobble me. My enemy dives, sword poised to strike. As expected, he intends to hold his bow in reserve. He knows that if it misses, he won't get another chance. He'll attempt to cripple us first, then deal the finishing blow. So be it. We turn his plan to our advantage.
剣の勝負でまさに追い詰めてあの石弓を撃たせる。
それを防いで仕留める。了解。
I mean, yeah, you're gonna go for it.
所詮邪道よ。そこのところを教えてあげないとね。
Rude. Oh, what message am I getting here? Oh, it's a fucking shipping notification. I didn't know they texted me those. I'm ordering something from overseas, and a fucking DHL sent me a text. I'm like, who? Like, is this a scam? Am I getting scammed? Is this like a phishing attempt? No, it's my package tracking number. As the enemy approaches, I realize that his bow may serve another purpose. That shape, the way he's holding it. Could it also be a shield? Yeah, I was about to mention that, like, quite clearly. My knowledge of Western martial techniques is sadly lacking. Though I fought George Gargan on Enoshima, his weapon, a two-handed greatsword, was similar enough to my own that I could predict how he would attack. The pairing of sword and shield is entirely alien in my experience. In such situations, the safest course is to stick to the fundamentals of combat. Yeah, fucking samurai, like, distinctly never fucking use shields, almost. I know that he will use his shield to defend and his sword to attack. I just need to make sure that my own attack addresses both. I assumed Jodan had dropped my pitch, preparing for a strike at my enemy's belly. He positions his shield to defend. Immediately I pull up and shift my sword low, now angling for his back. Knight reacts with startling speed. A screech echoes across the sky as my sword meets the metal of his shield. But, though my feint was unsuccessful, it appears to have taken all that my enemy has to defend. His sword remains steady, with no sign of a counter.
胸部鋼鉄に損傷。危ない。一発で破られかけた。
月か。
A thrust. I should have known. Well, yeah, look at the thing. Like, Japanese swords, katanas in particular, are the way they're shaped. Thrusting with them isn't a very good use of, like, the point and the cutting edge. Like, they are designed to slash. They are not stabbing implements. Like, if you hold a katana, well, most katanas anyway, like, directly out in front of you, like, perpendicular to your body, the tip of the sword is not perfectly in line with the hilt. They're kind of at an off angle, which makes thrusting slightly awkward. Can you tell I've like any fucking white teenager ever? You know, back in the day, I watched a lot of medieval combat martial art fucking history videos on YouTube. Unlike a slash, which distributes force along the cutting edge of a sword, a thrust concentrates all its power upon a single point. That means even a lightly masked Musha can breach his enemy's armor with a single well-placed thrust. But landing a thrust in the air, well-placed or otherwise, is a difficult task for even the most experienced swordsman. This is why most Yamatoan schools treat it as unreliable, a technique of last resort. The ideal situation would be one where you hold your thrust until your opponent is so close that missing is impossible. In practice, however, this would mean foregoing defense, which makes it a good way to get yourself killed, whether you land a thrust or not. The Western Knight's shield solves this problem nicely. The shield defends, leaving the sword free to thrust at the optimal moment.
こういうものか。
感心するのはいいけど、やられっぱなしはごめんよ。
無論だ。そんなつもりは毛頭ない。
Yeah, we already have an appointment, you know, penciled in to die. We can't die here. Then we miss our appointment. Not with Captain Oturli's life at stake. I must protect her, for she alone will give me the death I deserve. As my engine carves a trail of smoke across the winter sky, I find myself asking, to save a life? Is my motivation truly so pure? And if it is that right? I fought to protect others before, but have I ever once succeeded? My mother died. My children died. How can I say that my sword has the power to shield another from harm? If it did, then surely I could have saved my father that day. But no, mine is not a sword that saves lives. Regardless of what I might wish it to be, the truth is clear. So be it then. Know yourself, the greatest strategist said. If I truly wish to defeat this foe, then I must embrace my soul's strength and fight to kill. Fortunately, I do not want for motivation. That awful scene is seared in my eyes, the same knight's arrow in my father's heart. I swore an oath then to avenge him. The time has come to make good.
Mido?
And, you know, we're at the end of Revengeance. You know, we're fighting Senator Armstrong, and we give off the whole, my sword is a tool of justice. Yeah, but unfortunately for you, this is not my sword. And then he kills him. But you know, this is our sword, and it's a killing implement, so we're gonna kill you. The second pass, my enemy holds a stance. He means to once again block with his shield, then come for a thrust with his sword. I'm not surprised. It's a solid tactic, balanced with no clear vulnerabilities. I'll have to make one if I hope to win, no matter the risk that requires. I rise in Jodan, then switch to Gedan just before entering range. This places me on course to strike as I pass to the enemy's back. Instantly, the air crackles with tension. My enemy is on high alert, and no wonder. I've not altered my approach from our first exchange, despite its failure there. A less seasoned combatant might take this to mean that I'm a fool. This one, however, does not underestimate me. He keeps his shield low and ready to shift in response to the course my sword takes. His caution will not avail him. Now a ripple of confusion disturbs my enemy's readiness. At this moment, he is wondering why no impact has touched his shield. The answer is simple. I have not attacked. Instead, I have shifted my sword to a left-hand grip, leaving my right empty. Why? Despite the question hanging in the air, my opponent does not hesitate. He thrusts with impeccable timing and aim, directly at the point that his previous thrust damaged. My blood chills. If this strike connects, it will surely end my life. This time, however, I have a shield of my own to defend me. Parry and riposte. With my left hand, I parry his thrust, and with my right, I go for the kill. Ooh, fucking... Just break it to their neck. Just absolute clothesline him. My plan is a simple one. Hook my arm around his neck and use the force of our collision to shatter his spine. Executed successfully, this technique guarantees your enemy a one-way trip into a never-ending dream. Yoshino Onryu, Yume Makura. Fucking dream pillow? Okay. Fucking hit him and then he immediately goes, me, 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 me. Shoot me, 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 me. I was certain I'd taken him by surprise. However, my enemy's reflexes prove much faster than anticipated. He ducks my arm at the last possible instant, leaving only the bare sensation of impact to tell me that I clipped his helmet. So close. My mind playing tricks on me? I seem to hear laughter, though no voice should be able to reach me across the steel-torn sky. It is soft and low, a sound not of malice or scorn, but of joy.
次を仕留める。
ミド。
敵情。
日の絵から馬の神、距離620。反転。あれは。ミド、敵機が。
At what? Yes, it is clear what the enemy is doing. What isn't clear at all is why. I'm staring down the tip of the enemy's bolt. His sword is sheathed and his bow is aimed squarely at my forehead. Considering that I face an archer, this in itself is no surprise. The problem is the timing. Why now? It's much too soon. I've taken no damage, and my heat reserves are full. My ability to maneuver is therefore undiminished. The enemy knows this, yet he means to fire? I would understand if he had a rapid-fire weapon like a short bow. This knight's crossbow is precisely the opposite. It was designed for power, not speed, with a heavy string that must be rewound after every shot. In Musha combat, where any given second could be your last, it is madness to expect much more than one opportunity to fire such a weapon. That being the case, the wise strategy is obvious. Hold your shot until it has the best possible chance of landing.
焦ったとでも言うのか。
Doesn't seem like the sort to let a single near miss to unnerve him so severely. No, this is fruitless. Doesn't matter now. Whatever my enemy's intentions, there is only one correct response. I must do everything in my power to evade the coming shot. The crossbow is his deadliest weapon. Force him to waste it, and the battle is won. The time it takes him to ready his sword will be all that I need to end it. Thus this night, my father's killer will fall, and Captain Otori will live. I peel my eyelids back into my skull, determined to seize the fatal moment that my enemy's hatred is unleashed. I sense that he is doing the same, watching me, looking for the perfect target. Will it be my throat, my eye, my crown? Will it be my beating heart? I will have the answer shortly. Ooh, this is your cockpit view. Nice. Muramasa's in her sights. She will not, cannot miss. The moment she pulls the trigger, Minato Kageyaki will die. Your target reticle seems a little off there. Unless he's like fucking bobbing and weaving. By all accounts, Otori Kaine had a perfectly ordinary birth. She was not pulled from the womb of a rotting corpse, no wolves gathered to echo her cries, nor was she conceived beneath a blood moon or as part of some forbidden dark ritual. There was love, there was courtship, there was a commingling of fluids. A lucky sperm met a ready egg, and 9 months later, a screaming infant emerged. All perfectly normal, all perfectly in line with the billions of humans birthed before her. Alas, this perfectly normal birth did not produce a normal child. Small price, each of her heart and her body came into this world different. I mean, a small piece, not price. The first to realize it, even before Kaine herself, was her father. Otori Tokitsugu was a dedicated parent. Despite the many duties that came with his rank, he always made time to attend to Kaine's education himself. And so he could not help but bear witness to his daughter's inclinations. You find a cool dead bug? That's great, kid. One day, he witnessed Kaine tear the head off a praying mantis. A butterfly lay dead at her feet, the remains of the mantis's meal. Despite his disquiet, he chose not to raise the issue, reasoning that children were sometimes cruel and that scolding her for it might have the opposite effect. Given time and the proper lessons to shape her outlook on life in the world, she would realize her mistake. Otori Tokitsugu was a good father. Bird! Next time he saw her in the garden, she was strangling a sparrow. From the insect it had vomited onto the grass, he guessed that the bird had been hunting for its supper. This time, too, Tokitsugu said nothing. Instead, he went looking for fables that might serve to illustrate the sanctity of life. He was a very good father. After that, it was a raven. Feeling his stare, Kaine explained that the raven had pillaged a sparrow's nest. Though it was difficult, Tokitsugu ultimately decided to praise her for catching the bird. It could not have been easy, and ravens were vermin. Censure would not have been appropriate. He was, after all, a good father. A few weeks later, he woke one morning to the panicked screams of his servants. Racing to the garden, he found his daughter covered in blood. In her left hand was a kitchen knife, in her right the corpse of a dog. He killed a kitten, Kaine offered, approaching with an unsteady gait. Apparently, not all of the blood belonged to the murdered animal. Though deeply shocked, Her father first summoned the doctor and bade Kane wash up as best she could, which she did, though only after burying the dog herself. That night, after her wounds had been treated, finally sat his daughter down. Why, he asked, why do these things? Because they deserved it, his daughter replied. Why? Because they were bad. It is wrong, she continued, to take a life. Every time she saw it happen, her heart would go out to the victims. Their anger, their grief for the future denied them, was what drove her to act. She killed the mantis, the sparrow, the raven, the dog, because those they had killed demanded it. Father tried. He tried to explain that this was the way of nature, that every creature, big and small, sacrificed others to live. Where did she think that their meals came from? The fish and pigs and cows and chickens had all been killed to feed them. And that is why, his daughter replied without pause, we should be punished too. If nature had decreed that creatures kill to live, then nature itself was wrong. Justice, the right, transcended nature's law. No excuse, not even necessity, could ever justify murder. So you're big into the whole vegan, vegetarian thing, huh? There is no justice in this world. Young Kaine had taken her father's teachings to heart. He had taught her that a noble's duty was to lead by example, show her people that justice could not be denied. Noble, first and foremost, was an enemy of evil. And now her father was truly at a loss. For while his daughter was clearly an aberration, she was also not wrong. Realizing that logic, therefore, would not dissuade her, he tried the only other thing he had left, juvenile though it was. He tried appealing to fear. What if that dog had a family, he asked? What if they come for revenge like you did? You might have a whole pack of hounds chasing you down in the night. And if they catch me, she answered, they'll rip me to shreds and justice will be done. If there had been any hint at all that her answer concealed fear, then her father might have found relief. She was normal after all, he'd have known, if more than a little too uncompromising with regard to the values he taught her. But no, she smiled as she spoke those words, and in her smile there was only hope, rapturous joy. Afterwards, when she had gone back to her room, her father sat alone with his thoughts long into the night. It was to be the first of many such nights, though, in the end, his lamentations would prove fruitless. He was a good father, but he had sired a monster. In truth, Kaine had, by this point, already realized what was wrong with her, just as she understood her father's concerns and what she should do to assuage them. She didn't care. She knew what she needed. She wanted this, to avenge the slain. Not because it was right, but because it gave her pleasure. Her father had taught her that killing was wrong, that taking of life must be punished. And in doing so, he had unwittingly loosed upon the world. For her, those rules were the perfect excuse to satisfy her urges. One small mercy in all this was that he realized that he never realized what he'd done. He died believing that his daughter was merely pure, too pure of heart, and never stopped to consider what the terrible forms that purity might take. He was a good father and a good man, and did not believe that any child could be born a monster. The good man could not see, and the good father could not do what needed to be done. Thus, Kaine was given time to grow into her madness, until at last, in September of the 24th year of Koryu, it had all come to a head. The soldiers who had abducted the Otsugi family were members of the army's Otori faction. Unable to return to their base with the police hot on their trail, the police and the army were at the time bitter rivals. The captain took his men and their prisoners deep into the mountains of Aizu, where House Otori held sway. A few days later, word reached House Otori that the radicals were hiding in a remote manor that belonged to the Nagakura family. Immediately, the house leaders met to discuss what should be done. Opinions were divided. The head of the house, Tokiharu, argued for intercession on the Patriots' behalf, while his younger brother, Kane's father, was adamant that these terrorists should be turned over to the police. The argument turned into a shouting match, several. The two men almost came to blows. Finally, House Hattori agreed to make the whole thing go away. Osugi Saike and his family would be freed, then sent to live out the rest of their days in a distant foreign land. The soldiers, meanwhile, would return to their unit, where they would be censured and punished for abandoning their post in the chaos following the earthquake. It was an elegant, if not principled, solution. Fortunately, by the time they reached it, the matter had already been decided for them. The day it happened, young Lady Kaine, then a guest of the Nagakura residence, had gone for a walk in the woods. As she approached the mountain lodge where she'd spent several winters, she found a boy bleeding to death by the roadside. With gasping breaths, the boy told her what had transpired. A man had abducted his family and brought them here. Now they'd made demands of his father, but those demands had been refused. Now there'd been shouting and blows, and finally drawn blades. The boy expired before he could finish, and the young lady had heard enough. All that she needed to know. When an armed soldier came running from the villa and demanded to know who she was, and they laid the boy down gently, then rose and gave the soldier's answer. At last, the time had come to satisfy the deepest cravings of her soul. When Nagakura Sayo arrived on the scene in pursuit of her missing charge, she found only a pile of corpses and one smiling monster. Sayo and her brother tried their best to dispose of the evidence. The story they spun, that the extremists had murdered the Otsuki family and had taken their own lives, was believable given the climate of the time. But a murdered corpse looks very different from one that died of suicide, and no doctor would mistake a battle wound for a child's clumsy scrape. So while society at large accepted the lie, the truth was whispered between servants in dark corners, until it became a secret that all of House Hattori shared. From then on, wherever Kane walked, terror walked beside her. Beware, beware, beware the child. Do not speak to her, do not touch her, do not catch her cursed eye. And do not, if you love your soul, make the child mad. Even her father, who had tried so hard and was forced to accept that he had failed, he would never understand her, could not afford to love her. A few years later, Kane left to study in Habsburg. It was exile. Sayo was her sole companion. And I did not blame her father for sending her away. Indeed, she felt nothing but gratitude for the love he had always tried to show her, and regretted that she was born unable to give that love its due. She was a monster, but she was not delusional. She knew that she was the anomaly. Someone like her, who took her joy in the suffering of others, deserved only loathing and scorn. So her father had taught her, and so, therefore, she believed. For the next several years, Kane roamed the cities and towns of Europe. She never stayed in one place for long. Death walked with her, and in her footsteps, the rumors spread like ripples on a pond. Valor, they whispered, the Fury, the Night Stalker. In all her time on the continent, she never once doubted her way. A decade later, she returned to Yamato, still the same monster she had always been. But it was there, in the land of her birth and first kill, that she was finally forced to question. This was the moment that it all went wrong. Something cracked inside her soul. She was meant to be hated. Her victims had always answered her thus. They wailed and wept, or spat at her feet, or threw themselves at her in vain rage. She had killed them all regardless. But never had she killed a man who thanked her for it. This man had murdered Yuhi, her cousin. She had the proof, as well as proof of his many other crimes. But she also knew that he had committed those murders purely out of need, that within the confines of his fate, there had been no other choice. Therefore, when she announced her intention to kill him for the crimes that he'd been forced to commit, she did so expecting that he would fight. That was, after all, the correct response when sentenced so unfairly. Instead, he accepted it, though though she could smell his terror. He welcomed it with tears in his eyes. It made no sense. He was not like her, a creature who worshipped vengeance. He was a good man, a principled man, and such a man did not take rank in justice lying down. Why then did he? Looking back, it was foolish to let him shake her so, when all she had to do was kill him and be done. Monsters are meant to understand Monsters are not meant to understand the hearts of humans. It was worse than useless to try. Try she did. She picked and prodded at the enigma he presented, like a wanderer lost in an ancient labyrinth. The problem that haunted her so was this. It was not an escape that he wanted. If it were, he would have taken his own life. What he wanted was an execution. He wanted to be punished in the name of those he had slain. And somehow, this desire coexisted with his natural fear of death. It seemed impossible. Night after night, she asked herself how this could be. And then, she got her answer.
お命を無価値に扱われてはなりません。今後はどうかご自重を願います。
無価値。
はい。
私の振る舞いは
Yep.
価値のないこと。
ありません。
It was in that moment that she realized the truth. The fear of death and the need to die. She thought these two were equal in his mind. She was wrong. One was not a factor. Minato Kageaki did not value his own life. This man, who bled to defend the natural right of people to live, did not believe that he himself possessed that very same right, or any right, to be heard, to be seen, to be treated as human. That is why he sank to his knees when she promised to make him suffer, even though his every instinct screamed at him to flee. Minato Kageaki hated himself with a passion that defied imagining. Why? Was it the sacrifices Muramasa's curse demanded? Or was it something deeper? Some sin from his distant past that caused him to set himself apart as unworthy. Whatever it was, it meant that he would never take up arms in his own defense. When the time came, he would kneel once again and bare his neck to a revengeful stroke. It's not right, said her heart at last. Kaine had always preyed solely on killers in accordance with her law. Not once, however, had she entertained the notion that she was acting in the name of good. Her victims, too, had their reasons, and theirs were no less valid than her own. That was why she never shot them in the back. She always gave them a chance to fight, to challenge her verdict with a trial by combat, where only when tested in the court of equals could vengeance become law. This time was no different. Minato Kageaki had his reasons. Words are hard. He had always tried his best. She knew because she'd seen it. Though their time together had been short, he'd spent it struggling to save as many lives as he could. And yet, when she read out the charges against him, he waived his right to defense. No one, not even himself, would speak on his behalf. If she killed him now, facing no opposition, then the life he had lived, the pain he had suffered, all the good he had tried to do, would remain forever unredeemed. Was it anger that gripped her heart at the thought? He doesn't deserve to die like this. Frustration? Not like this. Helplessness? Not like this. Sorrow? One thing was for certain. Then don't kill him. The death of her way. Why? Why kill him? For vengeance? What is vengeance? An absolute law? No. Just one law of many, no better or worse than any other. Why cling to it now? Why cling to it ever? Yes, because it gave you pleasure, because it's what you wanted. But now, what do the Kaine you do not want to kill. She tried to reject it. How could she not want to kill him? This one was not like any other. This time, it was personal. He had taken from her. Yet to Yuhi, that precious boy, she had so wanted him to be happy.
はい。
少しお伺いしたいことが。すいません。俺この辺に住んでる学生で新田優飛って言います。
はい。ゆうひさん。
Minato Kageaki stole his future. Hate. What else would she feel for this crime? His reasons didn't matter. His pain didn't matter. She had to settle the score. Settle the score? What did that mean? Would killing him bring Yuhi back? Oh, fuck! I didn't need my eardrums anyway. For the first time in Kane's life, she knew what it was to doubt. It was hell, and once it started, nothing could make it stop. What did she want? Vengeance? Truly? Perhaps it isn't hate that drives you. Perhaps you simply love too much. She remembers what her father said the day he sent her into exile. Those were the last words they would share. Kane had always believed that her father did not understand her. What if she'd been wrong? What if, in some ways, he had peered deeper into her soul than she ever could? No. Could it be? Could it be that she wasn't a monster at all, but just helplessly late? Perhaps it had merely taken her this long to realize a simple truth, that revenge, for all that had gripped the soul, was an empty, fruitless endeavor. The Orestia? Orestia? After avenging his father, Orestes is haunted by the furies to madness. The Count of Monte Cristo. All that vengeance gains the hero is a lifetime of guilt for his crimes. Hamlet. The vengeful prince destroys not only his enemy, but himself and everyone he knows. Many authors famed for their insights had warned of the folly of vengeance. Who was she to refute their wisdom? What if they were right? No, vengeance is greater than that. It had meaning, value. Did it? She had to know. Was it right to kill Minato Kageaki? I don't want to. Was it right to avenge Nita Yuhi? I want to. What course would she choose? What was right for her? What truly was her way? To find the answer, she first had to know what vengeance was. There was one other person against whom Kaine had personal clause for vengeance. Otori Shishiku, the man who had killed her father. For the attack on House Otori, Kaine argued that Shishiku's plan presented a threat to Yamato. This was true, but it was also the excuse she had been looking for. Her father had taught her that the nation must come first, regardless of what she herself might require. She could not kill Shishiku as long as doing so might precipitate Yamato's downfall. Not precipitate, that's rain. That's what it's doing outside right now. Precipitate. As she waited until matters convened to give her justification. So she waited. She believed that by avenging her father, she would find the answer she sought. She was right. In that moment, she got her answer. Whole, perfect, complete. She learned the truth of vengeance. It's not right. He's such a hopeless, desperate fool. It'd be so easy for him to find peace. All he had to do was accept that it wasn't his fault. He was just unlucky, a victim of fate, forced by matters beyond his control to wash his hands in blood. The gall. It makes her want to howl in frustration, to rip the hair from her head by the roots. She knows that even now, if she revealed herself, he would surrender without pause. He would purge his armor, bare his throat, and all the while, a voice inside would be screaming at him to fight. Why wouldn't he listen? She killed his father, but even that, if he knew it was her, he would surely blame on himself. It's madness. When all he has to do is shout, "I tried my best." So what if no one cares? He did try. He fought his very best. At the very least, he should acknowledge that the tears and blood that he shed. Yet he insists that he deserves no recognition, only death.
殺してなんてやらない。
Kill him now, and he will be right. He will die worthless, a wretched thing. She will not allow that to happen. That's not the end he deserves. A man like him should be made to live, to drown in joy beyond his wildest dreams. And when he's old and happy, all the pain forgotten, she will lean in close to his ear and whisper, "Remember, darling, how you wanted to die?" Oh, to see the look on his face. What a future that would be.
殺せない。
Bitch, pussy no balls. She wants him to live. At last, the blood-gorged monster has found a human heart. Here it comes. Do a barrel roll. Shifting course at precisely the moment he fires, I remove myself from the crossbow bolt's path. He's mine. Then, across the shattered sound barrier, I hear a terrible verse. The paradox of telling the apple. Long ago, a philosopher named Zeno devised a legendary paradox. While he used the story of Achilles and the tortoise to illustrate his argument, here it is a slightly more modern example that applies best to the setting. William Tell fires an arrow at an apple on his son's head. Before it gets there, however, it must pass through point A, located somewhere between Tell and his target. And of course, before it can reach point A, it also happens to reach point B, point C, point D, and so on. The arrow, therefore, will never reach its target, for in order to do so, it must first pass through an infinite number of points. This paradox is refuted by observable reality, but this is precisely what makes it so compelling. Yeah, the logic makes sense for why it wouldn't, but it does. And the logic for why it does also makes sense. It's like, if you just give a cursory look at it, it's like, yeah, both these things make sense. For if ever there were someone who could observe the infinite points, each in the unimaginable nothingness of time that the arrow passes through, then for that person, the paradox would be reality, and reality the fiction. But such a person does not exist. Such a person cannot exist. Did that arrow just turn? Yeah, someone definitely fucking read Fate's Day Night at one point and saw the big zigzag gay bulk does, and they're like, oh shit, that's rad as fuck. Or, fuck, the one in Hollow Ataraxia is even better. I won't spoil it, but there's a real good one in there where it's like a cross counter. The whole, what would win, like an immovable object or a fucking unstoppable force. And you get to see the answer to that, and it's rad as fuck. If you know what I'm talking about, hell yeah. Even before confirming that her bolt has struck home, Otsurukaine draws her sword and dives to deliver the finishing blow. She does not need confirmation. For her, to miss is impossible. This is William Burroughs' Shinogi, the power to make Zeno's paradox real. It begins when the arrow is fired. The arrow travels in a straight line towards the target, As with any normal arrow, a sufficiently quick and perceptive enemy may remove himself from its path. You're able to turn it at every single, possible point along its path. Interesting. And that is where the simulators end, where Burroughs Shinogi allows its pilot to reset the arrow's flight path at any point she chooses. Okay, so it's like time stop, walk up, pick it up, turn it 15 degrees, and it maintains all its fucking momentum and inertia, and it just, goes from there. The arrow shifts to its new course instantly, in blanket defiance of the laws of physics, and it may do so again as many times as necessary until it reaches its mark. Thus, William Burroughs' arrow is impossible to evade, in theory. And yet for centuries, this theory remained unproven. For in order to use Burroughs' power effectively, one must be able to observe the arrow as it passes through each point in flight, to know, without a nanosecond lost, where it is at any given moment, and more, to know where the target is at the same precise moment. These conditions are far in excess for even the most talented human's abilities, even when supported by a Tsurugi's considerable computative faculties. This was William Burroughs' greatest failure, where William Tell had empowered his arrows to follow his pilot's eye. Burroughs, knowing that he could never duplicate this feat, tried instead to produce something close enough. What he got was a technique impossible to execute, a fantasy, and fantasy can never match the history that Tell had made. Could it? Even if a person were born whose senses transcended the human, who possessed vision of such acuity that for her, time itself seemed to stand still. Do you actually have, compound eyes, and that's why you fucking keep your eyes shut all the time? Are you like a bug? If there were ever a person who were born whose senses transcended the human, who possessed vision of such acuity that for her, time itself seemed to stand still, then, with her as his pilot, Burroughs would surely surpass Tell at last. Good roll. This power has a cost. The strain is enormous, and not only on the pilot's heat reserves. Rene's tortured brain howls in protest, red rivers of blood streaming down her cheeks. She should barely be able to move so soon after loosing the arrow. Something's taken hold of her limbs, some force which drives her onwards. She does not have the strength to aim a clean thrust, so she lifts her sword and swings it like a club. Her arms are numb. She cannot feel how well her sword connected. She might have struck with the flat of her blade and she would not even know. It does not matter. If it will harm her prey, anything will do. Yeah, grab him. Give him an Azuna drop. This is vengeance. This is vengeance. And now, she knows what vengeance is.
貴様の父親は寝床を襲って殺してやった。何？貴様もそこで羽虫のように死ぬがいい。
Yeah, vengeance fucking rules! That shit rocks! It came to her as a revelation, the moment she killed her once betrothed in her father's place. Wise men say that vengeance breeds nothing. They are correct, but what of it? The future is for the living, and the victims of murder are dead. Remember them. Will any mortal law silence their eternal screams? No. If you wish to do right by the dead, then your choice is abundantly clear. Restore them to life, or punish their killer. Which of these is possible? So be it. Let the score be settled, the balance paid. What the dead have lost, they can never regain. So take it from the killer that their losses might be equal. And that is what the dead demand. That is the law of vengeance. For one who knows this law, that the dead go unavenged, There is only one righteous path. They become their mortal vessel and pursue their foe to the ends of the earth. The need of the living are not important. They have no bearing on what is right. Honor pride and honor honor. Otorikaine will see justice done. She's its tool, and a tool needs only its purpose. Joy, pleasure, frustration, pity. Her feelings were always worthless. The only difference now is that they are in her way. If Otorikaine cannot kill Minato Kageaki, then she too must die. I hear laughter, bright and deranged, the sound of a twisted, gleeful thing broken beyond repair. Is this how he laughed when he killed my father? This ecstasy? This hate?
ミド、辰巳の神から。
I summon my will in an attempt to prepare for my enemy's attack. My body is unresponsive. Not heavy, if anything, it is too light, as if everything below my chest were suddenly gone. Or perhaps it is. That hellish bolt pierced my stomach and flew on without stopping. It certainly felt like it could have taken most of me with it. Perhaps that is why everything feels so... The world dims, then rises out of fog. That blow just now struck my helmet. It's only luck that my skull is intact.
いいや
Perhaps it's not just luck. My enemy's last few attacks have been lacking. The low mass of his armor is not enough to explain it. His swings are crude, no better than an amateur's. Is he toying with me?
違う
I know the answer. This night is no concept of play. The malice I felt in that moment was pure. This creature possesses only two things: the desire to take my life and joy in seeing it done. Once you march you for death, nothing will stay him from that course. For an instant, reality snaps out of joint, and instead of my enemy's helmeted visage, I see a different face. That is impossible. That is...
ミド、
村間さん
余計なことは考えないで。
Yeah, quit making like plot connections in your head.
いいや
The last blow must have scrambled my brain. I feel as if I've been ripped from a dream, the memory swiftly fading. Was it a memory I needed? It seemed important. I reached for it.
それは余計だから忘れて。今は戦いのことを考えて。来る。
Bonk. His blade smashes against my gauntlet, numbing my arm to the bone. If I'd guarded my throat an instant slower, I would be dead. I would now be dead. Muramasa's right. I let myself be distracted. It won't happen again. Still, it's strange. With a little more strength, that attack could have breached my armor. There's only one explanation why it didn't.
鉄器も消耗している
そのようね。しのぎの負担が大きかったんでしょう。
That makes sense. A shinogi like that, which can empower an arrow to change its course against inertia, must come with a consummate price. Even if he could have reloaded his bow in this time, I doubt he could have managed a second shot.
反撃するなまだしも今のうちということかどちら
どころか、あのしのぎがもう一度来るかも。
Yeah, I gotta stop him from having a Cliff Bar and a 5-hour energy. The taste of iron is thick on my tongue. I swallow it, biting my torn, shattered flesh to answer my command. The enemy is again on approach. Light or no, I can't take many more of his attacks. I ready my sword and prepare to counter. Charges on, unheeding, as though the battle were already won. I'll show him how wrong he is. At the last moment, I shift my stance from Jodan to Hasso. It's my turn to thrust. The enemy makes no move to defend. Even if he tried, the initiative is mine. I aim for a center of mass. foregoing juicier targets. This is no time to be greedy. Right now, I just need to land a hit. Fortunately, my head-on approach makes it easy. Ugh. And yet, when my hungry blade pierces the sky, my enemy is not there.
見切られた。
No,
見られていた。
not just this one meager thrust. At the very beginning, this knight has seen everything, to the motion of my smallest hair.
捕まっていた。
Too late. I realize what I am. A prisoner. An insect pinned to a slide. There is no escape. Not from these eyes. Again, the world falls away. Claw myself back, only to slip once more.
まずい。
I sense that Muramasa is calling to me, but her voice is distant. I cannot hear. My vision dims. Precious seconds passed before awareness returns. His hunger unsated, the enemy is swiftly closing to strike. And yet, I still feel that terrible pull, my body pleading to let it rest. It has been through more than enough.
ダメだ。
Give in now, and I will never wake. I can't rest yet. No, not yet. I have to fight. Why?
なぜ。
Yes, there must be a reason why. What was it? Has it slipped through the cracks in my skull?
いかぬ。
Without a reason, I cannot keep up the fight. Remember, why am I fighting? Ooh, the big question behind it all, eh, folks? Well, we've already decided, you know, as we learned last time, you know, you must accept your way, and the way of Muramasa is to fucking kill. So, yeah, it's definitely the bottom one, but with that, that's where we're gonna be ending it here for today. I feel like next time we'll be able to finish up everything, and this is getting a long episode. For me, it's like 2 hours 50 minutes. It's gonna be a little shorter for you guys up on the YouTube because you know, I'll be cutting out all the saucy content that's now in the description below if you want to watch it to stay up to you know, the continuity of everything, you know, to get the 100% Muramasa experience. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell. See you guys on next time for the next episode of Full Metal Demon Muramasa, where we'll probably be finishing up the Nemesis route, and then we can move on to I think it's Conqueror. I think Conqueror is after this, but not over yet. Still got maybe 1, 2 more left in the tank. Catch you guys there. Later.